Hello friends. Now, I'm not going to name any names, but I recently came across a video from another creator that was basically talking about color combinations to avoid. And I don't know if the goal was rage baiting, but if it was successful because I was annoyed. To me, the idea of just outright stating that two colors shouldn't be used together is kind of ridiculous. You can use pretty much any two hues together in a color scheme as long as you go about it in the right way. There are lots of ways that you can actually make just about any color combination work. It really should be a nuanced conversation. You need to consider the characteristics of those colors. How bright, how saturated, how much of those colors are you planning on bringing into the space, and how do you plan to use them? So in this video, we are going to look at some supposedly bad color combinations, and I'm going to share with you some ideas of how these colors can actually be used together and look great. So here we go. Okay, it is fair to say that pairing a really bold purple with a vibrant yellow is going to be intense, but there are ways that these two colors can work together. This first example, I didn't have to look very far because it's right here in my house. I love a lavender and chartreuse combination. Light, pale purples like lavender or lilac or mauve. They're very pretty colors. They can feel very sweet, but by pairing them with like a harsher sort of acidic yellow like a chartreuse, it just helps to cut the sweetness. I sound like I'm talking about food, don't I? But the analogy works. You know what I'm getting at. I thought this was another great example of an unexpected purple and yellow combination. The same sort of concept applies here as with the lavender and chartreuse, but this time it's like the palest of pale, just a hint of mauve, and this like bright, bold neon yellow. I think this is really fun. Sometimes adding additional colors into the mix is what can really help make your color scheme successful. If this bedroom had just been purple and yellow, I think it would have lacked the depth and the character that these other colors and finishes provide. Here's an example where the purple and the yellow have been tempered a bit through the introduction of neutrals. So the white, the beiges, the browns. I also really like that little touch of deeper purple on the bedding. It really helps to tie in the wall color. In this space, we have a much darker purple. It's this rich eggplant, which can be a very tricky purple to work with. And then the yellow is also a lot darker. It's this muddy mustard sort of color that's starting to veer a bit into brown territory. It's a very dramatic color combination, and I think it's just made to feel a little more unexpected through that fresh pop of blue that's used on the vanity stool. Red and green. Of course, going too intense with your red and green hues could lead your home dangerously close to a Christmas theme, but there are lots of variations of these colors that look great together any time of year. And again, I have an example of red and green right here in my house. Here in my dining nook, I've used these shades of pale green along with some little pops of red and some reddish wood tones. The reds and greens in this bedroom are deep and rich, and they look so stunning with that brass lamp. That lamp is such a sophisticated piece, and it really just sets the tone for the whole room. And not just any old brass lamp would have had the same impact. It often isn't only about the color or the finish, it's the design of the piece that's really going to determine whether or not it works in the space. Here we have an example of more of an olive green that's been paired with some pops of red. By going with a green with a more yellow undertone to it like this, it's just really going to help you avoid those Christmas vibes. Okay, this one does have a slightly festive red and green color combo. And this is not a combination that would work in every space. They've been able to make it work here because it's a more traditional, somewhat eclectic space where this color scheme feels appropriate for this style. In a contemporary space, this color scheme would feel very different. And again, bringing in some other colors helps to avoid that Christmassy feel as well. Pink and red. I actually think pink and red are a great color combo. I have mentioned this before in other videos. Even a bright pink and a vibrant red can be really fun together in the right space if you are looking to go bold. But you can also tone things down a bit with a softer, paler pink. I especially love how this looks with a warm red with orangey undertones. I think oftentimes a pink and red combination is associated with a youthful, modern aesthetic. So to see the combination used on a toile wallpaper, which is a very traditional pattern, feels really fresh and interesting. This pink and red combo also incorporates some burgundy, which helps anchor the space and also adds a more sophisticated feel to the decor. In this interior, there are a couple of variations of pink and a couple variations of red. It's a look that feels a bit more relaxed and casual. A vibrant red paired with a burgundy, like on this chair, is not a combination we see that much of, but I think they look really cool together. Dark brown and burgundy. I get that there is a certain look associated with brown and burgundy that maybe feels a bit dated, but I think there's a newer, more modern way to work with this color scheme that can actually be really great. Now, trying to specifically define these interiors as dark brown and burgundy can be a little bit tricky because they're actually similar colors, right? You can get some dark browns that have a bit of a reddish undertone to them that can start to read almost burgundy, but I found some great images of spaces that I think generally just convey this idea of a color scheme. So I have seen a few different photos of this room, and the wall color kind of reads differently in each one, but I would say that it is a burgundy that maybe just has a slightly purple undertone to it. But whatever you want to call it, I think a color scheme like this is really nice in a bedroom because it's so warm and cozy. I know I've been showing you a lot of interiors with wood paneling lately, but it's just a great look. I can't help myself. And a lot of the brown tones in this space do come from the wood finishes. It feels very elevated, and the wood paneling is a big reason why. I think burgundy with brown wood tones is one of those pairings that can look dated, but this does not. The color drenching feels very current, and the contemporary black and white art in vintage gold frames is a great styling choice that also feels modern. Another deep, dark, and dramatic space. And that's the thing. If you're going to go for this look, I think you really have to go for it. Let these rich colors envelop the space. Trying to place a few brown and burgundy accents in a light neutral room just isn't going to have the same kind of impact. Pink and orange, I think, can be kind of an intimidating combination to work with. It's not an easy one to figure out, but just like pink and red, when it's done well, I think it can be quite great. There's so much flexibility in how you can use pink and orange, like this example here where we've got a pale pink that's been paired with a terracotta, which is a combination that I really like. But then to add sort of a more contemporary edge, there's also this bolder orange that's been used on the painted trim and for the chair. There's an interesting combination here of this more vibrant pink with a soft clay that you wouldn't necessarily think would work together. But it's the choices made in the bedding that I think really brings a lot of warmth to the room. Sometimes bringing a mix of variations of a hue all together in a space is really the key. Here we have not only the orange chair, but the orange undertones of the wood. And a pink like this is certainly an unexpected choice with this wood color, but I quite like it. So this one is definitely daring, but also a lot of fun. You would think it would be difficult to compete with bubblegum pink upholstery and a bold orange wall, but the turquoise on the tables is such a great contrast. Keep in mind, you don't have to always use both colors in equal amounts. This room is primarily pink. There is a lot of pink, but the reddish orange of the drapes and that bright pop of neon on the stool help to add contrast and interest. Okay, friends, we've reached the end of the list of color combinations we're apparently supposed to be avoiding. So what do you think? Have I made a case for using any of these color schemes? Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I hope we see you again at the next one, and bye for now.